Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for the webcast, 3 Keys to Powerful Yet Practical Cybersecurity. Just wanted to go over a few housekeeping items before we got started, and I turned it over to the presenters. First of all, you can ask any questions on the toolbar on the right-hand side. We'll be answering as many questions as we can at the end of this webcast. Secondly, we will be sending out a recording of this webcast within a couple of days of the event. So if you have any questions about that, just want to give you a heads up that we will be sending out a recording of this webcast. Thank you once again for joining us, and now I'd like to introduce you to our presenters. First, we have Aaron Branson, the Vice President of Marketing for NetShurian, and also you'll be hearing later on from Wes Lyle, who is a Security Solutions Engineer for NetShurian. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron.
Hey, okay. Thanks, David. Thanks for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm really excited about this topic, and hoping that at the end of it, when it's all said and done, we're able to provide you some clear-cut recommendations on how everyday, ordinary companies can really run a strong cybersecurity practice without going nuts or going broke. So to do so, what we're going to talk a bit about is, we'll talk about why does cybersecurity feel so complicated to begin with, and how exactly this complexity is putting your organizations at risk. We're going to try to boil it all down to, as we said at the beginning, 3 keys that you can focus on. And lastly, my colleague Wes is going to show us how those 3 keys are actually put into play. And we'll show you a real but anonymized situation where it all came together. So let's start right here. This is why cybersecurity feels like a lost cause for some organizations. Look at this mess here on the screen. Unfortunately, this is the reason we're having this conversation today. I know it's completely unreadable, but that's the whole point, actually. The number of vendors in the cybersecurity landscape is huge. The solutions are fragmented, and to top it off, it's changing constantly. When you look at this, it's really no wonder why a typical organization really struggles to implement powerful yet practical cybersecurity. You know, there are over 1,000 cybersecurity vendors in this space, spanning, depending on how you slice and dice the categories, 12 to 15 different categories of cybersecurity solutions. And of course, compounding matters even more so is the fact that, you know, many of these solution vendors are eager to convince you that their one solution is the silver bullet technology you need more than the rest. You may get the impression of, if you can do one thing, do this one thing. But, you know, that's tempting, but it is too good to be true. In reality, you know, we have technology built on top of technology, built on top of more technology today. So the attack vectors, the vulnerabilities available to the bad guys are just too many. So there is no silver bullet. So we're going to talk about the concept of a multi-layer defense and why that's necessary. And what I mean by that is, you know, you need many capabilities, like what you see here on the screen. You need many capabilities for these many attack vectors in order to be considered a powerful security strategy. But conversely, on the other hand, you need to get them from the least possible vendors in order for it to be practical, especially as a small IT team with no fully dedicated security analyst and a squeezed IT budget as well. It makes it difficult to successfully detect and respond or mitigate the attacks already in process, let alone prevent future ones. So we're going to talk about something that addresses this cybersecurity fragmentation called cybersecurity convergence. We'll talk about how this maze here can largely be consolidated into 3 keys that allows the average organization to really have a powerful yet practical cybersecurity practice. Before we jump into that, I'd like to start with, you know, it's really important to grasp what exactly is at stake if we're unable to operationalize these necessary security controls. Many organizations, fortunately, have already woken up to the fact that relying only on firewalls to protect the network and only on antivirus to protect the endpoint is simply not enough. Just like a bumper and a seatbelt is not enough to consider your family minivan safe. But yet there's still some organizations that are coming around to this realization. Case in point, let's look at just the endpoints. By that I mean servers, workstations, laptops. 53% of endpoint compromises are slipping by antivirus today. That's, more than half are getting through. Why is that? It's simply because typical traditional antivirus solutions, they rely on knowing and cataloging all of the threats out there, and it cannot simply keep up with all the malware that's being pumped out. The fact is that known malware can mutate and morph as it spreads to other machines, just further frustrating antivirus. And besides that, not all attacks even involve malware. What about simply the wrong person accessing the wrong files on the wrong machine at the wrong time? That's malicious user behavior, and that has to be detected and blocked as well. Now, if they can succeed more often than not, it's not a shock that 84% of the data breaches involve compromising the endpoints. So those two stats really don't pair well for the typical small and medium businesses. So as a result of this, many data breaches go undetected until someone else, whether that be an auditor, a customer, or even a credit card company, points it out for the organization, and that's not a good situation to be in if an outside party has to find it for us. So now, if it is detected internally, as it should be ideally, still the average dwell time is upwards of 75 to 100 days. And that inability to detect a cyber threat is a condition we've nicknamed here DDD, detection deficit disorder. That rapid detection and effective response is absolutely critical. As you can see by the approximate business impact here on this diagram, obviously the faster you can identify a breach, the better, so that you're ready to respond and mitigate it and limit the impact. But so why do we say a multi-layer defense is important to address DDD? And first of all, how the heck do you piece together a multi-layer defense from what you saw earlier, this ultra-fragmented landscape of solutions? To kind of help break down and unpack that situation, I like to kind of explain this by comparing it to the multi-layer way of defending our homes. There are three ways to protect a home, and without all three in play, you're not really truly protected. These three critical areas are prevent, detect, and respond. So in this home security scenario, we got door locks, automatic lights. They're there to provide some level of prevention, but we know how easily those can be circumvented. So what about detecting an incident, if you will? After the doors are kicked in, you at least have motion sensors and a video camera there to detect that there is a problem. But what good would detection be without some sort of response to alert you or the authorities? An alarm system or even an automated notification to the authorities might mitigate the damage done. So likewise, today, people go beyond those typical automatic lights, door locks. They go to a fully integrated security system that can also detect and respond to an intrusion or even accidents like a fire. It doesn't always have to be something malicious or intentional. So likewise, a business should deploy a multi-layer cybersecurity strategy, including those same three elements: prevention, detection, and response. In this case, firewalls, antivirus patching, password management, and even cybersecurity awareness training are great forms of prevention. But just like in the real world, in the cyber world, you can't expect 100% prevention to be successful, even to a lesser degree in the cyber world. So when a security incident does occur, what solutions are there in place to detect it as early as possible? That's where SIEM, which stands for Security Information and Event Management, and EDR, Endpoint Detection and Response, those two fundamental solutions, also powered by threat intelligence, log monitoring, intrusion detection systems, that's where they come into play. And of course, any good security solution today will not only say something, it will actually do something, meaning your cybersecurity practice should include automated threat remediation. It should be backed by a 24/7 security operations center, the people with the expertise that can help you, and also enable forensic investigation to root out the cause of the breach so that you can harden your security, prevent it from happening again. So with that, hopefully you noticed 3 keys right there: prevent, detect, respond. Of these 3 keys, I really want to focus on the latter 2, detection and response. Now, don't get me wrong, prevention measures, firewall, antivirus, and patch management are important fundamentals. But again, those are the basics, just like locking your front door. And we know just locking your front door is not enough if you're really serious about cybersecurity. But thankfully, you don't need to sift through the 1,000 vendors or cobble together one of those vendors from each of those 15 cybersecurity categories to build out a truly comprehensive yet manageable security practice. What I advise you in these 3 keys of cybersecurity strategy is to look for vendors, look for partners that combine elements of prevent, detect, and respond. Now, I've got some bonus keys as well. I got 3 more. You can also break down a strong cybersecurity practice into these 3 elements: people, process, and technology. I'm sure you've heard those 3 before as it pertains to a lot of other things besides cybersecurity, but they're relevant here as well and very important. Though the cybersecurity landscape has really exploded, there is a process of convergence going on that we're really excited about and to be a part of. This is great news for the 95% of companies and organizations that cannot afford to, say, purchase multiple enterprise software packages, spend 6 months implementing it, and then staff and retain a security operations center to run it. So as you look at a multi-layer defense encompassing prevention, detection, and response, also seek out those vendors and partners that can show you that their solutions are going to integrate these elements: people, process, and technology. Because the last thing you want to be stuck with is something claimed to be the silver bullet, this powerful tech solution, and you don't have the ability to operationalize it and get the full benefits from it. Now, taking it a little further, got a double bonus here, because there are, in fact, if I were you, I would consider these 3 cybersecurity solutions as your core that will give you the most in-depth coverage. First, there's SIEM, Security Information and Event Management, for just foundational network visibility, user behavior correlation, integrating global threat intelligence, and ultimately, bottom line, giving you that complete picture of your network. Visibility is where it starts. Second, I actually want to talk about EDR, endpoint threat detection and response, for visibility down to the individual processes that are happening on those endpoint machines, and the ability to block unauthorized processes and quarantine attacks from spreading laterally through to other machines. Those 2 really work together really well, but to tie it together is a security operations center. This is the people and the process needed to pull these capabilities from these technologies together and help you remediate problems as they occur and identify future vulnerabilities as well. So now, those 3, I believe, are truly a powerful solution, but to ensure it's practical as well, is that this last thing that I'll add is to look for a solution that integrates SIEM, EDR, a SOC, and properly augments your team all as a managed service. Pulling those together, those 3 principles of prevent, detect, response, people, process, and technology, I think this really embodies it if you need a place to start. So there's your 3 times 3 keys to a powerful yet practical cybersecurity strategy. In short, again, ensure you are equipped to prevent, detect, and respond. Ensure you have people, process, and technology. And I recommend this as a starting point in considering managed security services that combines SIEM, EDR, and a SOC. And we'll talk about why in just a second, give you a real concrete example. So with that, I'm about to turn it over to Wes, where we'll share some real world example of how our managed security service used SIEM, EDR, and a SOC to defend a real life ordinary business. Just a bit of background on that. At Neturian, we deliver these three keys in particular by combining our award-winning Gartner Magic Quadrant recognized SIEM and EDR software called Event Tracker. We combine that with our own ISO certified SOC, and we bundle it together as a subscription-based managed security service we call Symphonic. That augments the team of our customers, our partners that don't have the means to go at it alone. So with that as a backdrop, I'm going to turn it over to Wes.
So this is Wes Lyle again, a senior sales engineer at Neturian, concentrating on the Event Tracker offerings. Going to be showing you our threat intelligence platforms, both our SIEM platform and our EDR platform. You'll see that there's some overlap in functionality between a SIEM and an EDR, but you'll also see how much more visibility there is into an incident when you use both of these tools together. So I'm going to drop into our EDR offering to start with. And here we have a number of groups that we're monitoring in the EDR platform. We're interested in things that are alerting, so we're going to filter and sort by alerting. So now we've got the busiest activity at the top of the screen. The group we're going to be investigating today in this demo is Acme. So we'll see that Acme has 2 events alerting right now. We're going to open up Acme. We're going to see that they've got alerting events on both a Windows workstation and on a server. We scroll over here. We'll see that there are 2 non-terminated processes on this workstation that are alerting. So I've got my malware analyst hat on in our SOC. I'm on that team, and I'm going to investigate this. So I click on it, scroll down to where it goes, and we've got our pending analyst screen here of what we need to be investigating. So again, I'm doing what our analysts are going to do. This is a co-managed solution, so you can go in here and look at the same information. What we've got here is we've detected in the XE search UI on Acme Workstation 1. That asset is ranked as serious, and our opinion on this, the AI in our process has said this is unknown. We're not sure what this is or what to do with it. So we're going to open this up and do some investigation here. So we've opened this up. We've got our customer information or our partner information here. We've got their address, got the IP address of the machine we're looking into. Here's its name. Here's when we saw this incident, 6:18 this morning. Here's a contact information at this customer and his contact card if we need to call him and get them involved. We've got the user that was logged on, Victor with Acme. Over here, we've got information on the process itself. Here's the product name, search user interface, the actual file name was search UI, the version number that was stamped with. It is not signed. This is the first sign that something is maybe malicious here. Nobody signed this. Here's the path it ran from, and its parent process was WinWords. This is something that spun out of WinWord. Came out of the Office directory. Here's the hash value of it. When we research malware pieces, we research them by hash value because it's really hard to fake hash value. It's very easy to fake a file name. Our threat engines that we looked into on this, none of these found this guy. Even VirusTotal didn't find this guy. This is completely unknown. This is potentially a 0-day. We don't know what it's doing yet, but we've got this file. Nobody has seen it before. It's active on this machine. This machine is alerting as a result of that. So now we're going to go back into the SIEM. We're going to go into the SIEM platform. We're going to go to the incident screen in the SIEM platform. Again, this is a co-managed service, so our SOC is watching this. You also have the same visibility that I'm going to be demonstrating here. I'm going to go to Tile View, which is my favorite view. I think it's the easiest one to trace what's going on in an environment. We're going to select our group, Acme. It's already selected. We're looking at the last day's information from Acme. So this is a real-time view of what's going on at Acme in the last 24 hours. Got some audit log cleared. These are on servers. This is on workstations. You can tell by the different seriousness of them. That USB activity. We terminated one process that was on a blacklisted hash. We've got some new services installed. FortiGate's complaining about something. Here's the one we were investigating, though, this EDR found hash. We had three events in this 24-hour period. I'm going to open it up. The events were on a SQL server and on a workstation. So the workstation we were looking at in the other platform. So here's 617. This is the same one that we were looking at on the other platform. So now we are looking at that same piece of software, but we're looking at it now from the SIEM perspective. That same search UI, new binary file, which is not available in a safe list, has been detected by Event Tracker. So this is the same thing from the SIEM perspective, though. Victor was our user. It spun out a WinWord. But now that we're in the SIEM, we've got a lot of additional forensic capability to investigate this. So I'm going to do a log search directly from here. This is going to return all the relevant logs related to this incident. So we got 9 logs back. Whenever we return a search result, it comes back in Elasticsearch. This is the Elastic top 10 that always come into view. We can see that Victor was common with all 9 of these logs. Acme Workstation 1 was common with all 9 of these logs. We've got 2 URLs that have been involved here. This looks like our mail server, and this is an unknown server. So now we're going to scroll down here, and we're going to follow these. We're going to start at the bottom, which is the beginning of time, and go up through this chain of events here. First thing that happened was Victor came in and logged on. So Victor comes in 6:16 in the morning, and he logs on to his workstation. Next thing Victor does is he launches Outlook. When he does that, there's a network connection open. This is Outlook connecting to mail server. Perfectly normal. Next thing that happens is a new process is created, WinWord. So WinWord spins up. So Outlook called WinWord. What this generally means is Victor has clicked on an attachment that's probably a Word doc, and it launched in WinWord and pulled that up. Again, all this is pretty normal stuff. But now a new network connection has opened. Here's where it starts to get a little bit more interesting. WinWord reached out to this URL, this IP address in Paris. Now, why did WinWord do that? That's a little suspicious and curious. This makes me think that maybe there was something embedded in that Word doc that he opened, maybe a macro in there. We definitely got my curiosity up. So now another new process has been created. WinWord has pulled down something from that URL in Paris. It's pulled down that search UI. What we started with was the search UI. It's now in Victor's app data local temp directory. Event Tracker has flagged this. A new binary file, which is not in any safe list, search UI, has been detected. A few seconds later, EDR detects the same. So this is the same event we saw in the EDR platform. The search UI has been detected. There's the hash value. It is not on any safe list. Here's where it really gets interesting. Search UI has now launched itself and is directly connecting to this website, this URL in Paris. So this process, this exe that WinWord pulled down after Victor launched a Word doc that was an attachment in an email, is now setting up a communications channel to this site in Paris. So that sounds like command and control traffic, and that's alarming, and I don't like that, and I want to stop that. So I'm going to drop back over into the EDR console, and I'm going to deny this. When I deny this, I'm going to add this UI, this search UI, to a blacklist. It will not be allowed to run on this machine or any other machine protected by this product in this environment. We can see here, this UI, this file was only on one machine, so that's good. Once we've denied it here, again, it won't be allowed to run on even any other more machines if it was in more than one place. But it only happened on one machine. That's good. So we've now basically contained it and killed it. I still want to know a little bit more about it, though. So I'm going to go back over here to Event Tracker, I'm going to pull up my threats map. So we're in the SIEM again. I'm going to pull up the threats map. I'm going to select Acme again to drill down. Looking at the last day, I want to know more about this site in Paris. So I can see that this site, the fact that it's flashing red means it's an identified malicious site, somebody that's on some blacklist. So I've opened it up. Here are a number of threat feeds that we ingest and process. This particular site, IP Void, ranked them, gave them a ranking of 4 out of 114. So they're not really, really bad, but they are a known bad actor. Here's that IP address. It's the same guys we were looking at a second ago. They've touched us 3 times. I want to know about those. I'm going to drill down on that. This time I'm going to go in the opposite direction. Well, first of all, up here again, we can see Victor's common to all of these. We've got 3 logs. Victor's common to all of them. Acme Workstation 1 is common. Our mail server is common, and this website in Paris. This time we're going to go backwards. So the last thing that happened was Search UI communicating with the site in Paris. That's no good. We know that's bad. Right before that, WinWord had pulled Search UI from this website in Paris. It was a minute before that. 17 minutes before that, though, there was another connection. And this was from that website in Paris, that URL in Paris, to our mail server. So we hadn't seen this one before, and it involved Office 365. Scroll down in here and see what happened. Okay, so this website in Paris sent us an email with this URL in Paris, IP address in Paris, sent us an email with a from address of Louise at Yahoo, sent it to jobs at Acme with a subject line of resume for business analyst position, and that email was delivered. So now we've got the full story. So this malicious actor in Paris sent us an email pretending to be a resume. Victor clicked on, opened it up. Victor came in, logged in, opened this up, clicked on it. It made a connection back and tried to set up command and control traffic to Paris. So we've now isolated it. We've got the full story. We've done the forensic analysis on it. We know what happened. We can go back in here and open a casebook entry. I could have done this at the beginning and tracked all my incidents through it. But I'll make an entry here to save this information for posterity and for future auditors. Go back in here where we started in the SIEM. I could open a casebook entry here. New entry. This builds a ticket. It's got all that information, all that log information in there. It's created a new incident number. It's got my name, when I've opened this ticket, the workstations involved, IP addresses. I can put notes in here about what I learned. I can save this. I can also, if I've integrated with a tool at your environment, ConnectWise or something, I can open a ticket and pass it over to that system also. So I've got the full forensic trail. I've documented it for auditors, and I've killed and protected the process and prevented and isolated the environment, and done my job. So Aaron, I'll hand it back over to you, and we can take some questions if we'd like.
All right, good deal. Thanks, Wes. Let me pull up the screen really quick and we'll get back into it. So thanks again for that demonstration, Wes. Hopefully everyone could see that that was a, that is a perfect and common example of why detection and response is crucial, and going beyond just basic prevention. Those incidents are going to happen. They happen every day. And you could see how people, process, and technology all had a role in that. Now, also what Wes showed you was a powerful set of tools, but you may be asking, how was that practical? The practicality was that what Wes was demonstrating there was what the SOC staff within that managed security service is doing on behalf of the customers. And all that work is done, all of that analysis is done, that investigation is done, and ultimately a clear-cut recommendation of what needs to be done in the network on those devices is delivered to the IT team. So yeah, I think that's really sums it up. Before we dive into questions, David, there was two things I wanted to plug really quick. First of all, we talked about DDD, detection deficit disorder. That's kind of our way of having fun with a very serious situation and how do we solve it. But if you need a 2-minute laugh and a break after this, go to netshurian.com/DDD. We just did a little parody on that, which I think is both useful, but it gives you a break also. But also we have our next webcast up on the docket. You'll receive the date if you anyone who registered for this, you're going to get the replay, but you'll get the date and time of this next one. But the next one dives into something a little more tactical, a more pressing issue that many IT organizations are facing, that being the sunsetting of Windows 7 support. How do you integrate smart decisions revolving around endpoint security into your migration plan? Or maybe there's certain systems you just cannot migrate realistically. How are you going to keep them safe? So that'll be a very interesting topic coming up. But I think that's it. David, do we have any questions for me or for Wes?
Yes. Hey, Aaron. We've had a few questions come in, and we still have time to take a few more. If anybody would like to submit a question in the questions tab on the right-hand toolbar, please feel free, and we will try and get to those. So we'll start with this one. A question, I guess this one is for Wes. You did not spend much time in the EDR console. What else can you do in there?
Okay, the EDR console is where you manage the whitelist and the blacklist, and it's where you apply policies to your endpoints. So the tool can do anything from running in pure audit mode, where it simply watches behavior, watches process, alerts, kind of builds a book of all the processes. So this is going to be learning mode or audit mode. Can also run in a full lockdown mode, where it allows absolutely nothing to run on a machine that's not in a hard whitelist. So this would be appropriate for a point of sale environment, or a call center, or a kiosk. It's got two modes in between those. It's a protected mode and a guarded mode. So you can set per endpoint or per group the level of protection you want, and you can manage those whitelists and blacklists. Again, this is a co-managed service, so we will be doing this to our best effort and our knowledge. We've got more than 3,000 endpoints out there collecting data, 3 million endpoints out there collecting data. We're analyzing all of that to help make our decisions. But you may have an app that's unique to your environment that you want to whitelist, and that's fine. You have the ability to do that in the console. So that's where you manage those lists and the policies of how those lists get applied to your endpoints.
All right. Following up on that, am I giving up control if I move to a managed SIEM or SOC as a service?
No, not at all. And some of that was in the last answer. So these are co-managed services. You'll have the same access to the platform that I just demonstrated, so you can go on there and do your own forensic analysis. That may not even be necessarily security related. You may have an HR incident. You may have fired Joe yesterday at noon, and you're curious to know what Joe did for the hour or two before he was let go, and the hour or two, make sure he didn't do anything the hour or two after he's let go. Well, you can run a forensic search on everything Joe did, and HR may find that interesting. So you've got a lot of capability to do research and see who copied what on the USB sticks. It's important in financial institutions. Sometimes you can do a full audit of everything that's been written to the USB stick in the past week, for example. So there's lots you can do that's not even related directly to the security and intelligence part.
Yeah, and if I could add on to that, Wes, all excellent points, in particular about how we at NetShurian have that co-managed mentality and setup. Just kind of food for thought for the audience is as you're exploring that cybersecurity landscape and trying to make sense of the various categories, you're going to run into terminology that seems redundant, or managed SIEM, co-managed SIEM, SOC as a service, managed SOC. All of these things have a lot of overlap and similarities. But when it comes down to it, as far as control, back to the question of control, that's something you'll definitely want to investigate when you're vetting out a partner or someone to work with. Is, are you really losing that control? In some cases, you may see something touted as a SOC as a service, and it's meant to be very much out of the box. This is the way it works. There's no drawing outside of the lines. This is the way it's done. And so if you do want to have a certain level of control or collaboration with that vendor, that's definitely a great question to ask again when you're investigating various solutions.
All right. We just had another question come in. How do I deploy cybersecurity solutions on containers?
If this is for like Docker's containers, we do not currently have an agent that would be compatible in that environment. But if you're spinning up machines in Azure or Amazon, it's a full machine, not just a container. You can run our sensor or our agent in those environments, but we don't really have a solution currently for what I'm thinking of as a Docker's type container environment, if that's what you're speaking of.
Yeah, maybe we can get a little clarification on that. If there's a follow-up, let's definitely field it if we have time.
Definitely will. I'll go to a different question while we wait for that follow-up. Do you have services for partners?
Yeah, so you saw those groups that were listed in both of our platforms just then. Those, so in an MSP type environment, those could be the customers of the MSP, and you may have an MSP or a master MSP that's running the console on behalf of many customers, or even on behalf of MSPs underneath them that have customers underneath that. So it can be multi-tiered, multi-leveled, multi-tenant. EDR has some of the same capabilities. The two tools, again, can run independently, but they are better together. That's our buzz term. They complement each other, and that was something I tried to demonstrate. But absolutely, we had definitely deal with partners in multi-tenant environments. You can also use that same capability if you're an enterprise type environment. You can use those same groups to sort out business units or sites or whatever UI function, whatever way you want to organize and structure your business. If you can look at just this group or that group, if you wanted to, like accounting could be a unit, and et cetera. Research could be another.
Yep. Yeah, and if I could just tack on another angle on that is, the whole topic of today is powerful yet practical, keyword practical cybersecurity, and we got to think about what's practical for a small to mid-market company. Frankly, they may already and probably do already have an IT managed service provider, maybe an IT solution reseller that they work with, and they only have the appetite to work with so many specialists. Maybe they can't take, aren't really. How do they manage yet another vendor just for cybersecurity? So, we definitely see that as necessary for practicality. And so we've got a managed service provider network, MSPs, VARs, and we've designed these solutions to either be driven by NetSharing or driven by a partner.
All right, thank you both for those answers. I have not received a follow-up on that question around containers, so we could certainly follow back up with that person after the webcast as well if they have any additional questions. But I think that's about all the time we have now for any questions as well. So once again, I will be sending out a recording of this webcast to you all within the next couple of days. And thanks again to Aaron and to Wes for all the information they imparted upon us today during this webcast. Everybody have a great day, and thank you very much.